Beginnings and endings are always the most difficult thing in a screenplay. The middle section is just the noise in between the two bookends for the most part. Starting a film is where you always put your most attention. When you're writing, the first 15 pages get rewritten 150 times. And by the time you get to the end, you might have gone through it 2 or 3 times. So it was really fun on this particular project to know where you wanted to end up, to really kind of come up with an ending first, understand what it means to have an ending this kind of complicated and kind of all-encompassing, and then force yourself to work backward from there. I heard the tale of Theft of the Mona Lisa, and I thought this is a really interesting story. I thought about taking it 2 or 3 or 4 steps further. I was really always interested in motorcycle daredevils and more modes of masculinity and grittiness in that particular regard. And then I backloaded some ideas that I wanted to kind of incorporate at one time or another into it. Being further influenced by a lot of films in the heist genre and the con artist film genre, the challenge was to be true to the ending that I invented first. And that meant creating a colorful world and characters to populate that. That's kind of why I gravitated toward Niagara Falls, because it's a very, very colorful world that I know quite well. And characters like Crunch Calhoun certainly fit into that world very, very nicely. Niagara Falls has a long history of daredevils, from people crossing over the falls on a wire to going over the falls in a barrel. It's forever kind of associated with daredevilry. French heist films are my particular favorite, like with Rafifi and Bob Le Flambeur. I mean, there you kind of had, the French New Wave embraced the anti-hero, and that's perfect for heist movies, whereas the Hays Code, unless you had like a moralistic tone to criminality, you couldn't portray it. With this particular story, it circumvents usual heist film mechanics at times, or at least hopefully it does. Often that is exactly, heist films are put together wherein, they hatch a plan, they execute the plan, and then, there's a happy resolve. Or right off the top, they enact a plan, it all goes catastrophically wrong, and the rest of the film is all about recovery. In this particular instance, the heist takes place just a little bit over the halfway part of the film, and they succeed. So I hope you're watching this after the fact, or else I've just blown it for you. And then there's this nebulous period where we're not sure what's going on, where the heist movie becomes a con artist flick. It looks like they achieved their goal, and we're not really sure where we're going. It's kind of like this zone in the film. So I'm kind of borrowing genre conventions from 2 divergent places, and divergent but related places. There's a kinship between these films, but they're not kin.
I thought that Jonathan Sobel's screenplay actually was a great pleasure to read in that regard, because I was rolling along with certain aspects of it, and then quite surprised.
At first, I didn't understand it, but it took me a while. No, it took me a while reading it to really get the idea, of what the whole heist business is all about, because it gets very intricate at times.
I love this script. It moves. It has such an awesome voice to it and its own flavor. Like, that's the most important thing to me, is that, like, I find that the majority of scripts that I end up reading are sort of technically proficient, and that's about it. People seem to work for, their entire careers and never have a semblance of a voice. Jonathan definitely has a voice. When you read this script and see this movie, you are seeing one guy's vision from his heart and his mind, which is incredibly exciting. And then, more to a point, that specific voice is incredibly engaging. It does a really good job of demonstrating all the kaleidoscope of images you see in this movie. It's just really fun and exciting, and it's engaging, and you want to find out what happens. It's what's best in these movies.
The original name of the movie, back when the script was new, was The Gospel According to Roscoe. It was a bit more oddball, a bit more offbeat. The character names were different, a bit sillier. A bit more camp, a bit less real, a bit less grounded, and we sort of felt together, you know what, let's aim a little down the line for this one. Let's go a bit straighter, a bit still comedy, still funny, but a bit straighter, real character names, maybe the book could have a truer history, a bit more believable. So that was the big development sort of arc that we did.
Jonathan's done a great job at painting such broken archetypal characters.
What I liked about the script were the characters. I mean, this is a film with a lot of twists and turns. It's a very Byzantine story. A lot's going on, but the individuals still maintain their idiosyncratic nature. You know, whatever they are, those characters, the characters are paramount.
These people just say things that I don't think you thought was coming next.
When you speak French, it's like a donkey cock right in my ear.
As they're going along, there's, you know, between the main actors and the director, they're doing some fantastic changes, rewriting into the script.
Kurt came to the project armed with ideas every day. He would have a new idea for a scene, or for an ending, or for a direction a character could take. He was so involved in shaping the film as it is now. He's a true collaborator in every sense of the word. He understands the language of film, he understands the language of his character and characters in general, and knows how to go about bringing to life the beats and ideas that he wants to bring about. So he elevated it to a whole new level. I think with the casting of this film, I was blessed. I was blessed by being able to pull together some people that I've always really wanted to work with. It was exciting to watch them work together and bring all these divergent ideas from all these, you know, different places, and also bring in the iconography that they come with.
Do we have an entire, like, 2-hour reel to do a segment on Kurt Russell?
Growing up when I grew up, you know who Kurt Russell is. He's Snake Plissken.
Snake Plissken and The Thing.
The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China and Tango and Cash and Tombstone.
Young guys, or guys that are younger than me, I get a kick out of the fact that they like a lot of the characters that I did. When you make your living, when you collect your bones as an actor, you're going to probably, in your career, if you have a long one, you're going to pretty much be all over the map. And someone once wrote about me that I thought was kind of funny. I think I said that, and someone said, yeah, it looks like in your case, whoever was at the wheel was drunk. You were literally all over the road. And I always look at that as a great compliment. I said, that's very true. I've been all over the map.
He's just so right for Crunchy Calhoun. He's just, you know, I can't sort of put it in words, obviously, but he just felt so perfectly right for his character.
I've always felt there was a lot in the name of a character, and I got to play some great names. I got to play some guys that really had cool names, and I think Crunchy kind of says it all for his name.
If only for the film stories alone, this has been wonderful. But then, like, to watch somebody who cares as deeply about each scene as he does, and he doesn't care about it so much that it sucks the fun out of it, you know? He really just digs what he does and makes all of us better.
Jay Baruchel was always first in my mind for the role of Francie. He has the humanity and vulnerability that you need in the character, but at the same time, kind of like the humor and the heft of somebody who, you know, could throw a punch.
Oh, you fucker! Fuck you!
Jay's very inventive, does a lot of improv. He's good with that. He's got great ad-libs.
It's very difficult to keep up, because it's sort of one after the other, after the other, after the other.
All right, boys, crunch time.
He and I have talked a little bit about this. There's nothing more fun than getting in the sandbox with another actor who wants to play. And probably nothing more confining than those who don't. And so he'll play in the sandbox all day.
Much to the chagrin of whoever hires me, my mind is always, and I'm always thinking of different versions of things. So, yeah, I guarantee you, everything that'll be used will be whatever was in the script. I think he lets me get these out of my system, and that's about it.
It was fun to watch Matt Dillon play a bad guy, and watching him kind of play with the character of Nicky Calhoun and, you know, make it his own was a fun process. Matt's just so intense and specific about what it is that he wants to do.
And all right, just one question too. When we go outside, are we that uncool?
No.
No, you guys can't go that uncool.
No, that's the...
But when you do it, all this is going and then you get outside. And
Right.
You never run after a score, right?
What I like about him is he likes to come at it 100% of the time, strictly from Nicky's point of view. Never wavers. Never wants to see yours. Never wants to see Crunchy's. Never wants to see Francie's. Never wants to see Jay's. Sometimes doesn't want to see Jonathan Sobel's. He's coming from Nicky's point of view, and so I think he's got it covered. And I like working with that because, as the character that I play, I have to deal with it. I have to deal with it.
I was in his trailer one day, and he's got these, he plays the conga drums. In fact, he goes to Central Park, and he plays with the real, you know, Latinos in Central Park in New York. And so I went into his trailer and I started scat singing, you know, and it's like a Latino scat singing. You know, like that. And I thought, wow, this is fun. This guy's really a character. When Matt comes into a scene, he does often will throw a little improvisation in. You know, he'll test a line and throw it around, and you know, he'll throw something else in and change rhythms, and he just takes his time.
There are times where before the camera's rolling, he sort of starts, occasionally he'll sort of start bantering a little bit, and it's sort of it's kind of in character, just kind of to get the scene going in the way that it might be going. But it's so effortless and casual that I'm sometimes caught off guard by it. He'll begin sort of making conversation as character, but it's so real that I'm like, oh wait, are we rolling? Oh, what's that?
In a way, Matt and I go back a long way, although we've only met once. But I remember my nieces having a crush on Matt because he sort of reminded them of my brother and me. You know, it was this similar sort of facial archetype, like the bone structure and stuff. So, in other words, I thought, well, yeah, he's a kind of he's like a young me.
We're gonna have you. That's what you use.
This is what you've got to look forward to.
Just a little like as you age as a performer. This little magnifying thing, it just gives it a little more.
Do you feel like this is an indignity?
Indignity?
No, it's the glasses. You need a much stronger.
I'm used to fellow artists laughing at me. It's the story of my life.
Way to go.
I was laughing at his joke, not at him.
Am I stealing this film? No, absolutely not. I'm actually kind of phoning this one in. Terrence Stamp is just absolutely crushing this. He's General Zod, so of course he'll crush you. You will kneel before him. Cut in him.
Huge Terrence Stamp fan growing up. The Hit is one of the all-time best movies in my top 10 list, and The Limey might be in my top 20.
When I first found out I was going to be working with Terrence Stamp, I was just severely disappointed because I was told I was going to be working with Ian McKellen.
Mr. Stamp, please. When I got the script, the part had been written for an American, and I said, look, I don't play American, I can't do the American accent, and I feel self-conscious about playing American when there's so many great American actors, you know, so I don't want to do it. And he said, no, I don't want it American. He said, I wrote it for a friend of mine, he's unavailable, I want English. I said, well, if it's English, you know, I might have to rewrite some of my speeches, but I am a published writer, you know, you can trust me. And he said, oh, that'd be great. So I had only one big speech, so I rewrote it, and I faxed it to him. You know. Now, that's wonderful for me, so I'll just use that as a springboard, you know, and I'll see what happens in the moment, you know. Because what's in the moment is curiously perfect, you know.
Who is Agent Bick? Agent Bick, first and foremost, is he's an albino. But I'm choosing to play him with brown hair.
Jason Jones is been a friend of mine for 10 years, and he was in Jonathan's and my last movie. So he was sort of kind of cast from the very beginning in sort of a way without asking. Without telling Jason, we cast him 2 years ago. He doesn't know that.
He's like my 40-year-old, 210-pound muse. He will always be in my films, I think, as long as he'll have me. And pairing him up with somebody who's Terrence Stamp, who's like, properly trained, was a pairing that really, really worked.